A while back, I was living on the first floor of our two-story house. We had moved our bedroom down into what was the dining room. I had been diagnosed several years ago with a permanent brain damage and a movement disorder called generalized dystonia. I'd become confined to hobbling around the bottom floor of our house with crutches, but usually just staying in my wheelchair in really just maybe a 50 square foot area where the bed was and the area around it, right to the bathroom and back. And times had gotten really dark for me, feeling sorry for myself at the sad state of affairs of my physical ability. And then when things seemed bad, they got a little worse. I'd fallen out of my wheelchair, broken my tailbone, and ended up in bed all the time for about a month. And during this time, I'm lying in bed, and I love how technology is. I could pull up YouTube on my television, and through an unexpected series of events, I came across Neville Goddard, this man from last century. He died in 1972, I think, but I came across his lectures that have been posted on YouTube about the power of imagination and how imagining creates reality. I know now from studying the Bible with my concordance that what Neville was talking about when we go into imagination and move into a state of being, or we create this desired state, whatever we want to be, healthy, wealthy, happy, for ourselves or for others. We go within imagination. He talks about moving into that state and dwelling in that state. I know now that that's what we call prayer, what the scripture calls prayer. If you look at in the concordance, prayer means movement toward or motion toward. And so that's what we're doing in imagination. We're moving into the new state. And the first lecture I came across was called The Secret of the Sperm. Yeah, I'm a guy, so of course I picked that one. The title just pulled me in. Yeah, it's stupid, but yeah, I'm a guy. So I listened to it, and I loved, of course it shocked the hell out of me listening to it at first when he started talking about that whatever state of existence we're in, whatever we're in, whether it's miserable or good or evil, that it's entirely up to us, and that God is within us. And he points out in his lectures and his books that God's name is I Am. And the only I Am is our own I Am. So it's up to me to decide and to make the determination of whether I want to stay in the state I'm in or move into a different one, whatever my desires are. Totally rocked my world, this new way of thinking. I grew up in a very religious home, always taught that God is watching. God is going to decide whether we're good enough to make it into heaven. Of course, if you just said the right prayer, regardless of what you did, you get into heaven in the end when Jesus comes back down on his white horse and sends all of those people who don't believe in him to the lake of fire for eternity. That scared the crap out of me. Every week I was, growing up, I was repenting, trying to stay out of hell. Well, Neville's talking about the hell is here, that this life that we're living, we've forgotten who we really are, and that's the hell we've created in this forgetfulness. We forget that the power is within us, that the Creator is inside of us, and which in the New Testament is Jesus. In the Old Testament, Jehovah, depending on the translation, or Yahweh, or just to spell it out, Yod-He, Vav-He, in the ancient text, the Hebrew letters. And Neville started exploring all that he's talking about. I was just devouring it, laying there in bed, just listening to lectures and downloading his books into my Kindle, and just taking copious notes and studying the meanings of words in the Bible. And it was totally blowing me away that everything I'd learned and been taught and raised to believe in was different. If you look at the Bible not as an actual history, but as a spiritual guide, and if you see everything as you start to study the Bible as something that's internal, that all the characters are inside of us. Oh, dang. It just rocked my world. And in this lecture, The Secret of the Sperm, Neville relates these states of consciousness, these infinite states of consciousness, to unfertilized eggs. And we go to it in imagination, and we fertilize the desired state. We enter that state, and we dwell in it. We fertilized it. In that same lecture, Neville also says, one of the great fallacies of the world is perpetual construction, deferred occupancy. We know what we want, but we keep putting it into the future. We know what we want to be or have, but we keep saying one day, it'll happen one of these days. But all we're doing is deferring occupancy. We know what we want, we have a desire, but we keep putting it into the future, and we'll never have it. Not until we go into imagination, occupy that state, give it the tones of reality, make it real in our imagination. And we fertilized it. And just like any fertilized egg, it will hatch. It will come about in our lives. It may be immediate. Every egg, Neville says, just like in the physical world, has its own gestation time. It will come about if we continue living in the end. What would it be like? What would it feel like to be the man I want to be? How would I see the world? How would the world see me? Of course, my friends and family would see me differently. They would see the difference. And how would I react to different things in the world, in my experiences? My reactions would be different. All of that changes if we're thinking from the wish fulfilled, if we're living in the end. Check it out, Secret of the Sperm. It's all over YouTube. You can go just type in Neville Goddard, and you can probably find all of his, I know you can, get all of his lectures online. There's 130 something of them, the audio files. Check out freeneville.com. 2020 and his wife Victoria have put together all kinds of great stuff. You can get all of Neville's lectures in print there. But The Secret of the Sperm, I love it. It still makes me giggle. This has been Feeling Twisty.